This is your emergency broadcast system, announcing the commencement of the annual pep rally. So may we have your attention, please. Now introducing your sectional winning.
So I think I got a free sound effect that was actually for a pep rally, but you know that sound. It's time for the Purge. Welcome to What Is She Thinking? The Purge. How to free your mind by clearing up. We did a series about moving last week, and we didn't even get to how to let go, baby, how to let go. And it definitely deserves it. Right, Dr. Heather?
It definitely does. This week, we're going to be like Elsa and let it go. Let it go.
Oh. And you notice how both of us get like light and sing-songy when we talk about that? It's for a reason. Like there is an actual thing that when we start to peel off layers of stuff that is broken, doesn't fit, no longer works, you're not laden down with boxes, it does actually feel better. It makes your life work a little better. So we want to talk in this episode about how to do it, why it works, why our mothers were all right. Mom, if you're listening, this one's for you. And what to keep and why that's okay. That's at least what I want to talk about. Is there anything there, Dr. Heather, that you think I missed?
Oh, no, I think that's it. We're also going to touch a little bit on why it's so difficult to purge, why it sometimes feels icky, but in the end can feel good.
Yes. Okay. So I can be occasionally a bit of a pack rat. Not because I don't like purging. I love it. I have trouble getting started because I have ADD. And then I want to be done right away. And so I will I just want to wander off. It's a little like I am about cooking. I want to wander off and I want to come back and find that elves have finished it for me.
How does that work for cooking?
It doesn't work very well. I think I've had the fire department called in every city that I've ever lived in. That's for another episode.
That's another episode.
That's another episode.
Dig into that.
But it's not dissimilar from the kind of like actually getting into the inertia of going through all of your stuff. What is it that makes that so difficult?
Well, you nailed something right away, which is that starting is hard. Starting is really hard, whether you have ADD or not. It can be really challenging to just get that thing going, to just pick that first thing to get rid of. And so sometimes we have to assist some third party, like your phone or a home virtual assistant or an AI that actually gives us that nudge. Or if there's another person in your household, they're pretty good at nudging you too. So starting can be the most challenging part of all.
So I have, again, always comes down to friends for me. It always comes down to another human who is helping me. So I had a friend when I was leaving Jerusalem who came, they were visiting, and their entire job when I was trying to pack up my stuff was to say to me, no, we can't go and eat yet. And they were like, how? We have to fit a lot of it. I see
where your motivation is.
Yeah. So I was constantly saying, well, how about we go and eat and then we'll come back and go through the rest of these clothes. Right. And they were like, no, how about we finish going through this box of clothes and then we can go, or this closet, then we can go and eat. And it really helped me to have somebody else to keep me on track, because I left my own devices. I would have gone and ate, or I would have just laid on the bed in my position thinking, when are the elves coming to do this for me? That just would have been my approach. And but when you say starting is hard, is there something in the brain aside from Newton's laws of motion that makes that hard?
Well, one of the things that makes beginning the purge and purging the most difficult thing we can do sometimes is actually just that. Everywhere we look, everything that we see, they're objects of who we are, what we've been through, and memories of our past and who we were. Everything is tied to the hippocampus. And all of these objects play into the hippocampus, and all of a sudden, maybe you forgot about that amazing game of baseball you played where you had a home run, but then all of a sudden you find the baseball itself. And you might not have recall, but recognition happens when you see the object and those memories come flooding back. And then when you try to get rid of something that has a good memory attached to it, it feels like you're getting rid of that memory itself. And that can be really emotionally challenging to go through.
I'm curious about this when it is something that you haven't seen in a while. So, okay, I'll give an example. Dress in the closet. So I have a dress in the closet that I wore 25 years ago to an event. Very meaningful. You know, it was tailored for me. Love it. Never worn it. Not displaying it. I won't get rid of the damn thing. Why not? It's not displayed.
It's not because it is a physical representation of not just the memory of the experience, but of who you were then. And it doesn't just activate your hippocampus, it activates an area of your brain called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. And that—
Sorry, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to slow down and say that one again 3 times fast.
Ventromedial prefrontal cortex.
Oh.
And that's an area that's activated when something is personally relevant to you. So you're getting all sorts of brain whammies happening with these objects, because again, it's not just the story of what happened. It's that was you. It represents your identity, who you were at the time. And that was such a big moment for you that it probably conjures up all sorts of memories about who you were at the time, what you were thinking, what you were hoping, your outlook on life, and all sorts of things you hadn't thought about. And you're just not ready to let those go.
I just find it so interesting because, like, I think we all know there's always like a box that moves from house to house for pretty much everybody that never gets opened and never gets gotten rid of. And I mean, cables that you don't know what they go to anymore, those don't have memories in them. So how come they do? Like, why can't people get rid of those?
So that's a different kind of challenge. And that's the kind of cognitive and brain challenge that is dread, right? It's not the fear of losing something personal or important. It's the dread of, I have a box of 35 cables and I have to sit down and sort through all of them and try them out to see what works and what doesn't work in order to decide which ones to get rid of. So it's that dread of actually, it increases our anxiety, and it's that dread of having to do the work itself. There also might be a little bit of fear in there.
Well, that
and
could be.
We keep clutter for fear that we'll need it in the future.
So city cheerleaders.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's that kind of dread.
That kind of dread. Maybe I will need that cord for that old Apple IIe that I have in the garage.
Yes. Yes. So do different kinds of people experience different kinds of pack ratting or purge problems, or does everybody have both? I'm sorry, I had to put the purge siren on again because I have it, and therefore we're going to listen to it a few more times this episode.
I look forward to it.
So I think that's really interesting because I know I experienced that. I think, oh, I can't possibly go through these cables. At one point, I moved with something like 4 sat phones from place to place.
Yeah. As one does.
As one does. I had like 4 sat phones that came with me, some of which were no longer functional, had not been used since like the early 2000s. And it was like, okay, what you never know. You never know when society's going to fall apart and you're going to need all of these sat phones in order to, get on air. And what part of my brain is that? Is that ventromedial? That's not ventromedial cortex.
That's the sat phone region in your brain, which is unique to you.
Is my amygdala? Is it my amygdala?
Well, it is actually. It's part of your amygdala because that's a fear-based clutter, right? I might need it in the future is a fear-based clutter response, and that's your amygdala as well as some other regions in the area that are all part of your limbic system. And it's because we're afraid that we might need something in the future. If you have a relative who went through the Depression, this is something that was really common amongst people who lived through the Depression. My husband, Brian, his grandparents when they lived through the Depression, and they always lived in a modest sized home.
Mhm.
And when they died, the family had no idea how much stuff was in that house. There were Time magazines from 1955 in that house because they were just afraid to get rid of things because they didn't know if they were going to need them in the future. And they had experienced not having enough and didn't want that to happen again. So people who live through extreme experiences like that, perhaps some extreme poverty, some houselessness, can certainly be more likely to have that kind of fear response with clutter of, oh, I might need this in the future.
My grandfather, who lived through the Depression, my mom used to buy him like new shirts. This is after my granny had passed. And when he passed, my mom found like in a dresser all of these shirts still in like the brand new wrapper, like he'd never taken them out. And he used to wash his hair with dish soap. So, I mean, like I come from very frugal stock, but it was a fear response, right? It was a form of a fear response. And he didn't pack rat. And I mean, not everybody is like that. Like I've experienced people who've been through conflict and they go a different way in terms of how they approach stuff. But it's interesting to see how people can respond. Can you respond both ways to what can challenge you when it comes to purging? Can it be a challenge on the identity front and on fear?
Oh, absolutely. It can be both. And you can have a different response to different objects based on the object. So we can come at things from both of these angles. You can have both of them for the same object. You can have these for separate objects. And as we discussed a little bit, it does depend on the person. So I'm a bit of a pack rat. I like collecting things, and I work to attach memories to objects because I know how memory works. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be so meaningful for me. I'm going to remember everything about this. And the challenge is then it becomes really difficult for me to separate personally and emotionally and get rid of those objects. My mother is a different story. My mother has the most organized, cleanest house, and there's not a drop of clutter anywhere. And she doesn't collect anything either. She has what she needs. And it's not that her house is bare or anything like that. Her house is beautiful. But she doesn't get sentimentally attached to very many things like I do. And so it was always fun growing up when she would come into my room and just threaten to come in with a garbage bag and trash everything.
Oh my God. That's traumatic. Speaking of traumatic, maybe no wonder you get attached to things, right? You're like,
Maybe.
speaking of both. I love it when we learn live on the air.
Live learning.
Live learning.
Come here to find it.
Come here to find it. What is something that you struggle with now? So you talked about how you attach memories and it makes it hard. Is there something that for you find difficult now?
The older we get, the less we need things that we had when we were younger. Mm-hmm. So the greater the distance in time, the less likely we are to actually use those things in everyday life. And for me, getting rid of some aspects of clothing are really, really difficult because I grew up doing a lot of clothing shopping with my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And so I have so many items of clothing that I don't really wear anymore, but I don't get rid of because I remember exactly where and when I was when I bought it with her and the story that happened. And maybe we went to lunch after that and we saw a great movie because every Graham shopping day ends with lunch and a movie. Mm-hmm. So it's a trifecta of a day. And especially as my grandmother is getting older, those things become in some ways even more precious because I know that there is a finite limit to the number of those things I'm going to have. So for me, that's a difficulty that I face right now. How about you? Is there anything that you have a challenge with in this area?
In terms of letting go of?
Yeah.
I've gotten really good over time at letting go of things because I've moved so much. I have very few things from my childhood. I don't have and neither do my parents, quite frankly. So, when you talk about touchstones of identity, a lot of those things I don't really have. And so I'm thinking about that, whether what I actually struggle with. I think I'm actually pretty good at letting go of stuff. I struggle with the process. I
Mhm.
struggle with the process because I don't like to start. I struggle with the kind of, oh my God, what if I someday need this hard drive? I have a very old cell phone, which I know has these like text messages. I don't have a charger for it anymore, but it's like got the equivalent of love letters on it. Um,
Digital
and
love letters.
mm, so I've got things like that, but I have over the years kind of winnowed down so much. I don't know if I'm actually that. I don't think it's good or bad. Like, but I think I'm pretty good at letting go of stuff now. In some ways, I wish I'd held on. There are a few things I wish I'd held on to. Like, I do think sometimes we can take it too far. Like, we always talk about it.
Mhm.
We've become sort of obsessed with the idea of purging,
Mhm.
that it's, Marie Kondo, it's always like, does it spark joy or you let it go? This idea that we should all be living in like the beige palace of, Kim Kardashian or whatever, that, without, but you know what I mean, right? Like we should get rid of everything.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm in a, you know, Oaxacan chocolate cafe right now where it's nice and brightly colored. But I think sometimes it's good to hold on to stuff. Not necessarily for sat phones, but that was a different time in my life. I don't have those
Do you still
anymore.
have
No, I had
the
to give those back when I left the
Mhm.
BBC. It was, or would I still have them? Probably. But
Listeners and viewers, if you know of any sat phones that you need to get rid of, please send them to Melanie. She will be happy recipient of these no longer needed sat phones you may
I
have.
will say, but do you get my point that I found it easier and easier as time goes by because I don't feel the same, like I have to have everything inside of this. So like, I think jewelry is important to me because it's something I can carry with me and it's
Mhm.
small. And there's also a certain freedom sometimes in, being up, like I drove from Oaxaca up to Toronto and actually just having everything in one car and being able to have the freedom of that was
Including your
amazing.
dog.
Include, of course, you gotta have room for your dog and or cats. I'm still hopeful we'll find a travel cat, but being able to have the freedom of that is really quite amazing. There's a freedom there as well. But I think it's both ways. Like, it's not to say, like, I just think we shouldn't be so obsessed. Like, part of me wishes there are occasionally things I think, oh, I wish I hadn't got rid of that when I was, for example, moving from New York to London. And I was doing it with suitcases and, staying in a friend's flat with 6 suitcases while I figured out where I was going to live. And then, I've done that so many times. And then I did it again just last year. It's like 6 suitcases and the dog's bed on the roof of the car. And it teaches you in a way to be less attached to stuff than maybe is common. I don't know.
Yeah, you've destigmatized purging for yourself. And you've essentially taught your brain that this is an okay thing to do. And I think that's really impressive. Absolutely. And it's it's hard for so many people because there's also this phenomenon of loss aversion where losing something feels a lot worse than gaining something. And when we decide to get rid of something, it feels like a loss. It feels very extreme. And so I like that you've told yourself it's going to be okay and this is okay. And you've experienced that it is okay several times.
And again, though, I do think this comes a little bit from, I want to get you to say that thing about loss aversion again, because I think it's really important. I think I have seen, we talked about how some people who've gone through traumatic events become very clingy to stuff or have trauma, and some people don't. And I think this might speak to why some people don't, not me being traumatized, but people I know who've been through disasters where they've lost their homes, they've lost their stuff, people who've been through conflicts where they've had to leave and start over. And they have trained their brains to realize, okay, I can do it. I can begin again. I can decide what is most important. And as long as I have what's most important, then that's it. That's okay. The rest of it is just stuff. And like I always say that to people, like I say it to myself when I'm moving, because I think we all know, anyone who saw the last episode knows I was like, yeah. But, it's like your reminder of like, well, look, whatever happens, like I will get moved, like it will happen. And it's the same thing with like if you need to purge, or for people who've gone through this stuff, it's like, to a certain degree, like you'll be okay on the other side. But I wonder if that loss aversion, people getting over the loss aversion, is what gets them to that. Can you just say that again about loss aversion?
Yeah, so through decades of research, we know that the feeling of losing something is much stronger and more severe than the feeling of gaining something. And so we avoid losing something if we can, because we don't want to undergo those feelings of loss. And when we do declutter, when we do purge, part of that is a loss. And that can be really, really difficult to go through. And the experience helps, like your experience and the experience of people you've known who have gone through that. It can also be helpful to try to understand and acknowledge, yeah, this is a loss and I am losing this. I am giving something up, but it's going to be okay because I'm gaining cognitive clarity and capacity by purging and decluttering. And that's the upside. So it can be helpful to focus on the upside. The upside might be that you're donating something and you're donating it to somebody who is going to give it a new home and a new life. And that might help you get through it too.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, so there's two things we can get into here. Number one, our mothers were right, which is not yours. That was a little traumatic trying to go through. My dad used to have something called the Saturday bag, where he would like go through with a garbage bag, and if we left out clutter, he would put it all in a garbage bag, and we wouldn't see it again until Saturday. And famously, my stuffed animal Chocolate, the horse, went in, and I was very traumatized.
Oh no!
But it was similar to this. But this idea, my mom used to always say, if you clean up, you'll feel better. If you clean house, you'll feel better. And I used to think this is crazy. However, you're saying she was right. That
your mom was right. She was right. Let's give her credit. And because there's another interesting finding, which is that physical clutter actually creates cognitive clutter. And that can cause cognitive overload in your brain. Because that means everything you look at, every little object, every little thing in your view, your brain has to process. So you're paying a cognitive tax for every little thing you have to look at. If you're looking at 10 things, your attention is split 10 ways. If you're looking at 100 things, it's split 100 ways. If you're only looking at 2 things, it's split 2 ways. And that's where clarity and capacity are gained. So it can be that tidying up and doing some simple purging really can actually help you gain cognitive capacity and reduce stress and anxiety.
Is that why people like to spring clean?
Yes, it is why people like to spring clean. It is. And another interesting finding is that one of the reasons it happens in spring is because of renewal and growth and blossoming and all of these wonderful things we see in the natural world out our windows that also we've adopted these as metaphors for ourselves too. We like to bloom and grow also in the spring, and new spring, new self, all of this. And we've adopted this so much that if you look at scents of cleaners, a lot of scents of cleaners that we use are spring-based. So you might have some sort of spring-based kind of all-purpose cleaner that you're using in your house right now.
Reminds me, I should probably go buy a cleaner. It's Oh, I don't know what that song was. That's like a whole new song. That's super interesting, and I would believe that. And so then, what's the other one that we wanted to know about cognition? The second thing that you said at the top about physical clutter, and cognitive clutter overlap. And we clear it out. But they do also often put freedom. What else does freedom give us when we do it?
What are some things that can help us do it? Is that what you said?
Oh, sorry. Like what I guess there's some other benefits that it gives us, or we can just say what'll help us do it. But I'm curious about what are some other things if we do it, what does it give us?
Yeah, so it reduces our anxiety because look, we want to get the good stuff, right? It reduces our anxiety. It actually increases our cognitive capacity, and it can increase our cognitive clarity as well. It eliminates decision fatigue. Every tiny little object has a decision associated with it. And that's another cognitive tax we're paying. So it reduces decision fatigue. And it can actually help you improve your focus. So if you're finding that you're having a hard time working and you look around your work environment, there are so many times when I notice I'm having a hard time and my desk is just way too cluttered. And I'll set a timer and give myself 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, the act of removing things from that area and putting them where they belong, or throwing things away, getting rid of things, really clears my physical space up and allows me to focus on what I'm doing, focus on my work without as many distractions.
Okay. So, and also, I as somebody who knows that you've got a lot of clutter happening at home right now. So, but that's another reason sometimes why you might just have to remove yourself from that if you want to get work done, right? Like why you shouldn't try to do heavy cognitive work in the middle of clutter if you can't get rid of it.
Exactly. You will pay a price for it. I am in the middle of this construction zone in my house. I'm having a new HVAC system and new venting and everything put in. There's drilling, there's sawing. My poor cat Porter is just hates it, hates every moment of it. So this is a different background because I'm here greeting you from the library. I needed to get away to actually have a little bit of calm and some peace and a place without construction clutter everywhere to get a little bit of work done.
Yeah, so it's just so sometimes I guess if you are moving and you can't actually get it all done, sometimes you do just need to move your environment to give yourself a bit of space. I think that's one takeaway in a way. But then how can you get yourself into, or if you have other clutter in your house? So what are you asked? We asked, what are some ways that we can do this? What are some ways we can get ourselves into gear?
Yeah, again, as we said earlier, just have somebody help you start, or pick up a timer or something to help you start. So actually just start. And then one way to try to help separate the emotional decision making out of it is to have a rule. So a lot of people say, if I haven't used this in 12 months, I'm getting rid of it. Or it could be, if I have more than 5 of these, I'm getting rid of the excess. If you want the Marie Kondo rule of does it spark joy, sure, you can do that. It might take a little bit longer because you have to sit and ask, like, how do I feel about this pen? So that might take a little bit longer, but these are some things you can do. And you can, with the difficult things that we are attached to, you can ask yourself 3 questions that'll help. You can ask, does this represent who I am now? Does this support where I'm going? In other words, who I'm going to be in the future? And is this worth the cognitive and physical space that it occupies? Because everything we keep doesn't just occupy a space in our brain, it occupies a space in our home too. And if you think about how much rent or what your mortgage is per month per square foot, you can almost calculate the cost of keeping some things. And some things just might not be worth that physical space or that cognitive space anymore.
Yeah, those are good questions. I think those are good questions for folks. For me, I think there is something to be said for, this is a trick that works. Picking up one thing, and going back and forth with one thing, and then picking up another thing, like just basically always having one thing in your hand while you are purging. One thing and then another thing. So you keep it small. So it's not, I must go through everything I have ever had and decide its place. It is, I'm just picking up one thing and poodling over. Oh, okay, now I'm picking up another thing and poodling over. Knowing that something is going to be of service to someone else, not always about selling it on, Facebook Marketplace or whatever the thing is, knowing that it's going to be of service to somebody else. And the feeling of freedom. Like, I know there's loss aversion, there is also freedom on the other side. But I would say that when there is an essentialism to knowing what it is that truly makes you happy, it's not so much Marie Kondo, but as much as it is, there are certain things that you truly can't live without, and almost everything else is gravy. And that's the truth.
Can we go back and rewind 10 seconds? Essentialism. Tell us more about essentialism.
Well, we're right at the end of the show, so it feels like a little bit of a thing to get into, but it's it essentially is that very thing that we were talking about earlier with folks who have fled, conflict zones, or when you've decided you're going to get rid of everything except for what can fit in a car. It is really getting down to the most crucial elements of your identity, your heart, what matters. It might be family photos, it might be the locket that somebody gave you, it might be the gold bangle, and those, it might be your pets, and those are the things that go with you. And if you have to leave it all behind, what would you take with you? There's my question. If you had to run out the door and your house was going to be blown up, what would you take?
I love that.
Yeah. So that's, we're not going to blow up your house. We don't know where you live. But
even if we did, we're nice people. We wouldn't do that.
We're nice people. That's not the way we are. I don't want to get us banned off of LinkedIn or off of YouTube. So I hope that's helped a little. I think, the purging can be great. And I think we both know because we've both done it. And it can be hard. And we both know because we've both found it hard. And there is, I don't know, a light at the end of your pack rat tunnel.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Let us know what you wish you'd got rid of. Let us know. Look around. Tell us what shirt with one button or coffee mug with no handle are you looking at right now that if only you could decouple it from memory, or you could get over your fear that someday you will only have one mug left in the world, you would throw it in the trash or you would put it out on the stoop. Put it in the comments. Let us know. Otherwise, like, follow, subscribe, and we will be here next week with more from What Is She Thinking? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.